Well, her book is called Over the Boards, Lessons from the Ice. It's a snapshot of the life of Hayley Wickenheiser from her time on the ice to the ER. Throw in the pandemic into that mix, and you have pages of inspiration, determination, loss, and the ultimate victory. Six-time Olympian, four-time gold medalist, member of the International Olympic Hockey Committee, senior director of player development for the Toronto Maple Leafs, author, and now Dr. Hayley Wickenheiser joins me now. Great to see you.
Nice to see you too, Angie.
It's a mouthful there. What more are you going to be doing, my goodness, the next time we talk? Talk to me about this book. It's incredible. A real journey for you from hockey, getting into hockey to the pandemic, to becoming a doctor. I mean, my goodness.
Well, I suppose when you say it like that, it sounds like a lot, but it's just really the evolution of my life. I had a long career, 23 years in hockey, and then like most athletes, that ends, and you have to figure out what you're going to do next with your life. So it was a very natural progression for me to go into medicine. I talked about going into medicine, anyone that knows me, since I was about 10 years old, and spent as much time in the training room with the doctors and trainers as I did in the dressing room, probably. So this book is a bit of both. I blend a little bit of my experiences finishing up medical school, starting residency in the height of the pandemic, and then the lessons that I've learned throughout my career, and I take that into what I do every day in medicine.
I want to talk about the pandemic and the medical side of things in a minute, but one thing that really resonated with me, I have an older daughter who was a goalie. She played 17 years, played with boys as you did. And you talk about changing in boiler rooms, bathroom stalls, getting to the rink before everybody else. Those were, again, it was the exact same thing that she was going through as well, because there wasn't that opportunity for girls the same way. How did those experiences shape you, guide you?
Well, I think, I look back now, and I know they were really hard at the time. As a young kid growing up, I didn't know any differently. So it was just like, this is what you're going to have to endure if you want to play the game. Now that I look back, I'm grateful for all of the adversity that I have had through my career and my life, just because I feel like I've developed a lot of resiliency and ability to cope with difficult things, with criticism. When you're going through medicine, you hit your residency, every day you go into work, someone's telling you something to do better, what you're doing wrong. And if you aren't able to handle that, it can be a soul-crushing experience. So I feel like everything I've learned as an athlete, and especially at a very young age, I mean, it wasn't easy. And I'm also very, I think, grateful and hopeful that little girls in this country don't have to experience what I did and the women that played before me did to play the game. You can walk in a rink with a bag and a stick over your shoulder, and nobody's looking twice like they did when I played the game. So it's come a long way.
Yeah, no, it certainly has, and I think you've broken a number of barriers for so many young girls now that you're rightly so. They can walk in proud into that change room, dedicated to them. Finally, you've been working with the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was an incredible moment there. And then in the midst of all of this, and of course wanting to pursue your medical career, the pandemic hit. How did that change things for you and your family?
Well, like everybody in this country and around the world, in the span of about 24 hours, 20 months ago, my life as I knew it was over. I was pulled out of my last rotation as medical student, just finishing up school, because they were worried about lack of PPE. I was working in the NHL, commuting between Calgary and Toronto for the Leafs, and that suddenly stopped. And so I found myself just sort of sitting thinking, what am I going to do? When we went back into the hospital for our rotations, I was coming home every day and have a 21-year-old son who was crippled with anxiety over, Mom, please don't kill Grandma and Grandpa, because my mom and dad live right next door to us. So there was that sort of fear at the start of the pandemic. I think everybody is now well aware of what we need to do and kind of coping with the fatigue that this thing has gone on a very long time in healthcare, and now the other challenges that go with it, with vaccinations and getting people vaccinated and protecting more lives. And as we learn to sort of live with COVID, which is likely going to become an endemic thing in our society.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And I know you were paramount with working and getting people vaccinated. I've only got about 20 seconds left. Hayley, I apologize. But going from one team on the ice to now a team in the ER room in the hospital, what has that been like for you?
It's the same kind of pressures. The stakes are much higher in the hospital for sure when you have people's lives in your hand. But everything I learned in sport, I use every single day in the hospital. And you know, I'm very grateful to be able to get this time, especially in a pandemic. Everyone get vaccinated and we'll get through this.
Absolutely. Hayley Wickenheiser, I should say now, Dr. Hayley Wickenheiser. What a great honor to speak with you. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. It's a fantastic book. I encourage everybody to read it. Over the boards as it is, lessons from the ice. Thank you again for giving me your time today.
Thanks, Angie. All the best.